I'm obsessed with this show. I feel like anytime I talk to anyone from the flight attendant, I'm just like not groveling at your feet, but I just feel like I'm just like, I love the show so much. So
Good. That makes me happy to hear.
good. So forgive me if this is just, 10, 15 minutes of me being talking about how much I love the show.
No, that's exactly what I need in the afternoon.
Oh, good. Well, pick me up. That's good.
Like that. Yeah.
Sure.
Great.
I was curious if you could tell me with season 2 what you feel like. Sorry, let me go back. I can't talk. What was it like to sort of be more into the action this year? Because I feel like this one, it's a lot of you, Kaylee, and Zosha sort of all in it all at once.
Yeah, the mystery of it all is always been such a draw of the show. Like, there's always such a great at the core of it, a great mystery, a lot of mayhem going on, and I got a little taste of that in the first season. But you're right, in this season where there is a lot more in-depth exploration by Max getting strung up into this whole thing throughout, which is a lot of fun. I mean, to get into those scenes where you got powerhouses like Zasha and Kaylee opposite you, and it's one of those things where they have such a great rhythm together, and it's coming in and trying to be a part of that rhythm and try find your groove. And I think it was something really luckily we found pretty early on in the first season, and we're able to continue on the second. And it's just those scenes where they're all sort of commiserating at the same time. If you're off by like a beat or just there's a fraction, you get left behind. So it's like it's fun, it's challenging, and it keeps you on your toes throughout the entire experience. And this season was a lot more fun to get into that more frequently. There was essentially part of the mystery this time, which was a great joy.
Yeah. Something that I ask everyone about, so everyone's probably sick of me talking about it, is I sort of get annoyed when people are really sort of sticklers about tone, because I feel like the flight attendant has a really comic heart to it, or a really comic soul, but everything sort of around it is really really heavy, or it can be really heavy. Yeah. I guess for you particularly, how do you sort of balance that? Just because I find that has to be so hard.
It is quite a juggling act, and I think one of the things that helps is, I mean, I'm going through any tragic situation. I haven't gone through anything of the nature that any of these characters have had to deal with, but there's always, life has an undercurrent of humor, and people are quick to find the humor and the lighter side of things. And I think these characters are the same. Yes, they're going through a lot of outside danger and outside mayhem, but they're still trying to keep the levity, and it's just innate in their personalities, and like a lot of us. And I think the writers, Steve and Natalie and the team, have done such a good job of that balancing act and really given us the freedom as well. So some of those scenes, especially when it's the three of us together, there's a lot of room to explore and discover new avenues to get the same sort of story across, but sort of add that light to it and add that that lightness, or that levity that that show does that fine balance of. And they've been really good to let us go at times, and also rear us back in and go, okay, that's too much. There's the gravity of the situation is lost now. Let's get back.
I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. I was just saying, it's that fine balance has been a constant balancing act throughout the entire season.
I feel like we all sort of innately assume that if we were caught up in an espionage situation, that we would be really cool, or we would know how to handle it. But in reality, I feel like more people would react to it sort of in the same way that you and Annie react to finding like a bloody wig in a suitcase. Like, they're like, oh God, yeah, that's crazy. Like, I feel like that would be more of everyone's reaction.
Right. I mean, and I think there's a lot of processing that goes throughout that I think would be necessary as well. A lot of these situations are the first time these people are dealing with it. And like anyone, the first time you deal with anything, it's a lot of fuck, okay, fuck, wait, what? Like, you know what I mean? You're just trying to process what's happening.
Yeah. Okay. Cassie, I think it's in episode 1 of the new season, where she casually says that Max does bad things. I guess would you consider what he does as bad? And do you think that's how maybe Annie and Max sort of connected in a way? Because she was doing some shady stuff, and you were, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, hacker under the cover of night sort of situation.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you? I wonder how like maybe Max sort of reacts to that. If that's a little too much of a overgeneralization.
I think it is. I mean, I think so. I mean, the whole backstory between Annie and Max was she was helping him with, they sort of touched on the first season that she was helping him with some legal issues that he may have got into, and their relationship blossomed from there. And I think that's one of the things that they both really do share in common, that they sort of work in shades of gray.
Yeah.
And it's never really like, yes, it might be the wrong way to do things, or not technically legal, but it's for the greater good. And I think that's something that he's always been on the side of, like, I personally believe it would be, especially now we see he's hacking, help Cassie out and help her get out of danger. These are illegal things that he is doing for the greater good. So I've always had an idea that he's quite the Robin Hood, in a sense of, taking these sort of skills that he has that could be used for the bad, but for good, and helping out. I think that's one of the things Annie's dealing with in this season as well. She's sort of come to a new place in her life where she was using those skills for bad and for for the corporate, for other people's, the shady characters benefit, but now to use them for good. And I think this season's really a nice moment for both of them. Like you said, we're getting in more into the action of it, but using those shades of gray skills to help the greater good.
I guess Max and Annie could probably, if somebody confronted them about stuff that they do, they could probably justify it in a way. Like, I'm sure that they've done that for, many a situation. Like, well, I'm doing this because of this, and that is why what I'm doing is not horrible.
Yeah, I think that I especially I think with Max, I think he has a very clear conscience. I think his more curiosity to the world and ability to do it all is not really stopping him from doing what he needs to do for the day to day.
I think one of my favorite things when I first started watching the episodes was seeing how Max reacts to a lot of things that Annie does in terms of their relationship. Like, that meeting with your parents is a disaster. And I always enjoy it when men or guys get to have that sort of reaction, because I feel like for so long the script has been a little bit flipped. How do you think Max imagined the meeting between Annie and his parents was going to go?
So I think you're right. This is one of the beautiful things about season 2. We really get to explore these new elements to these characters and take the time to explore these relationships. And I think definitely Max had a different idea of how it would go. Because they're the unconventional couple from the very beginning. It took him getting hit by a car for her to admit that she loves him. It took so like that was a huge chapter of their life. And now I think as things are moving on, it seems like, yes, it's not conventional. Yes, she's got the ring on the right finger and she's just wearing it. That's a huge step. So I think the idea going in was that, okay, we're making these baby steps bit by bit. So hopefully we can keep these baby steps going. And it unfortunately just doesn't go that way. And I think the reality of it wasn't they're going to be like best friends. I mean, that's not Annie, like his family aren't going to like be the, just this loving time and having, sewing together or whatever the hell. Like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just, it was just going to be pleasant, and it was anything but pleasant. And I think that, like you said, that shift is quite a big change in their relationship as well. Like, the norms is, it's a different norm that we're seeing on the screen, but it's also for these characters. There's been a shift where, Annie's going through she usually has her way of things and set mind of ability to do it, and she's lost confidence. And Max really, because of incidents like that, is able to find his voice, which he doesn't really have originally in the relationship. So there's a lot of paradigm shifts in this whole as we explore more of these characters, which is nice.
It's just sort of like, has to get hit by a car for her to be able to vocalize her real feelings, has to deal with a home invasion for her to just talk about any sort of relationship phobia that she might have. I was like, I fear for you, man. I don't know what's gonna happen to you.
Well, they admit the engagement, and we just got the engagement admitted in episode 7. And that took them being almost tasered and attacked and killed underneath the pier. So it's like, I really hope everything is. If the trend continues, Max is not doing well.
He needs to get I don't know, maybe season 3, you need to be like in a bubble the whole time, just like running in like a giant hamster wheel.
It's the only way to keep him safe. He's the punching bag of the show.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Really. Do you think this sort of goes along with the relationship with Annie, but do you think Max is looking forward to moving to LA for like a fresh start? And what do you think that sort of looks like for him?
Yeah, I think moving to LA was like for them was a big fresh start, and I think it's a new life for them, because I mean, especially Annie has given up so much from season 1 to season 2, you know, having Che quit the job, quit the law firm, and having Cassie moved for a fresh start. I think that is the theme of these two characters also coming there to potentially look for a fresh start and start a family. I think that's where the relationship was Max would hope be progressing towards. And obviously we've had some hitches along the way, but that's the idea. I think it was the intention for them to see if they could make a new life in LA together as a family.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's sort of this like this excitement that you bring to it that is actually really kind of endearing. And then sort of when she takes the ring off her finger, like right outside your parents' doorstep, it's sort of just like just all sort of just like, all right, this poor guy's gonna go through some shit.
Well, we were saying, I mean, Sasha and I did often talk about that. If they didn't have the experience of the home invasion, and didn't have the experience of being tormented by the Diaz's, would they really be together? And it was kind of hard to see a world where they would have recovered from that. Because of just of the utter betrayal of that. You know, I mean, that again, unconventional couple, but that ring meant she was accepting his love, accepting him as a person. By taking that off, it was kind of a big betrayal and a big wedge into that relationship.
Yeah. Okay. I've been enjoying seeing you pop up in other things. I haven't finished The Cleaning Lady yet. And I just got into United States of Al. And I was curious, like all sort of 3 of these shows, Flight Attendant and those other 2 shows, have sort of a very specific point of view, and I was curious if that is something that you generally look for when you sort of sign on to something.
A lot of it, I mean, the Melissa and Michael Offer, who directed the Cleaning Lady pilot, they really had a unique, and Miranda as well, who's another showrunner on that, had a really unique story and really unique vision for that story. And it was a story that hadn't really been told, and touched on great issues of immigration and hardship in the healthcare system, and then obviously there was a crime element to it as well, to keep it, you know, as an entertainment wow factor. And I thought that was such a nice blend of themes that haven't really been seen on network television. It didn't feel like a network show at all.
I was surprised. I was surprised, that it was like, oh, this doesn't feel like a network show at all. Sorry.
No, it's on Fox. It's like, which is great, and I think they should be. You know, I'm glad they're taking more. They really were taking a chance, and I thought it was such a fun role. I wish I had more time to play with it. Unfortunately, the scheduling was literally, they would started, and like a couple of weeks later, we were doing Flight Attendant. So I could only do a few before I had to duck away. There was actually some plans to go further with the storyline. My character would have had more of a impact, but then sort of Flight Attendant snatched me away to go back and do season 2, which is great. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but it was like, we could have had so much more fun. So that was really unique. It was a really unique role, and they really, from the ground up, there was an idea I had for the character, and they really built upon that with a lot of discussions of creating this pseudo prince that was unhappy with, you know, and wanted to dethrone the father, and they really laid the seed work and the groundwork for that. So there might be more to come on that end as well, if all things work out scheduling wise. And then United States of Al was, again, they got to go to, everyone in December got to go to Iceland to film. My character didn't go. I had some time. The opportunity came up. It was a Chuck Lorre show, and the opportunity to work with Chuck Lorre, or like in a sitcom. It was just, I couldn't take it. I couldn't not say yes to that. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
It's like, it's one of those, it's like, and it was so different. Yes, there's comedic undertones of Flight Attendant, but it's not a sitcom. And it was like a learning curve and a half. So it was one of those opportunities I just got to throw myself into the deep end, and I was in great hands. So it was very fortunate.
Okay. I guess just a question to let you go with is, with the Flight Attendant, why do you think Max is so desperate for a bromance with Marco? That is instantaneous. I was like, I think Annie has a line somewhere where she says something about like give it up, or like maybe we need to like leave you guys alone or something like that. I think it's in like episode 2, but I don't know. I always think it's sort of funny when guys are obviously have like such an admiration or a connection with like another dude. I think that is always so sort of endearing and funny. So why do you think he's so enamored so quickly?
Well, I mean, Santiago, who plays Marco, is honestly the coolest guy ever. Like, he's just like, it's hard not to see it. I think it was one of those things. I mean, it was there on the page, and it really made sense that like Max has such a happy-go-lucky attitude to life, and it's so I think I personally believe like he's sort of delving like, as normal people, like Marco is someone that you want, like, all women love guys want to be, and I think he definitely just gets swept up in that sort of guys want to be, and like he's like this photographer in LA who shoots with all these cool bands, and it's like
all rugged and
rugged, this is so out of Max's world. And I always think that, I personally believe that Max is very like style and everything is influenced a lot by Annie, who's very sharp and whatnot. So I think he's someone that is like a sponge that soaks in all the things that he finds entertaining and finds, cool. You know what I mean? So I think that was a big one, because like Marco in his eyes would be a rock star, and so it kind of makes sense. And that's why, and it was really fun to play with that, because Santiago is so funny and he's so spot on, and he's so like, he effortlessly cool that I genuinely would like to be as cool as he is. So there's a lot of truth to that as well.
Okay. That's funny. Well, I think that might be all the time that I have with you. I will say that because I was so obsessed with the show with the first season, it was when we did our top 10 list, I named it my favorite show of the year. I was just like, I cannot get the show out of my system. And I feel like season 2, it's like when you watch something that you love so much, I was worried, because I was like, how are they going to top what they did in season 1? And I am so like pleasantly not surprised, because the writing is so great on it, but I am so impressed with what everyone is doing this season, and I cannot stop watching it. And I think it's just beautifully layered and beautifully funny, and the dramatic stuff is really, really hefty, and I'm just in love with it. So that's all. Just want to say that.
Thank you, Joey. That's really kind of you to say. I really do appreciate your support, and I appreciate you watching and enjoying it. And you're right. I mean, a lot of that's to the team. They've done a lot of work to bring it back. And I'm glad that it's, we had such success in the first one, but I'm glad you enjoyed the second one as well. That really makes me happy. And I should have recorded that, because that's a nice little pep talk every early afternoon that I'd love to hear.
Just pump you up a little before you go in. Well, thank you again for your time. I guess stay safe and have a good rest of your day.
Likewise. Take care. Cheers.
You
mate.
too. Bye.